might just be able to see behind me the start of a giant woodpecker that's been painted on the field and possibly wondering why it's there. Well, that's what we're here to talk about today. It's all part of the anti-litter campaign run by InYourArea, Don't Trash Our Future, and you can find out more online at don'ttrashourfuture.co.uk. We're campaigning to increase the fixed penalty notice for littering to £1,000 or 100 hours community service, and to get local councils to enforce these rules on littering more often. Joining me at the moment is Logan, former Scottish Rugby Union captain and current campaign chairman for Clean Up Britain. Kenny, would you like to step forward?
Yes.
Just going to ask a few questions about the campaign and have your take on things. So, campaign chairman for Clean Up Britain, you're obviously passionate about the environment. Can you tell me a little bit about what you wanted to get involved with Don't Trash Our Future?
Well, I think it's important that we don't litter the countryside. And I think especially now with everybody, more people are walking more, and there's people with more dogs, and you've got to get them out. There's a lot of trash, and there's a lot of these face masks which we've got, and they're all over the place. And I really believe that, you know, the government have done a great job of getting us to put them on our faces, but now let's put them in the bins, because it's important that we look after the countryside. And as you can see here, this woodpecker is phenomenal, and animals are getting, all these masks on their faces and lying on the ground. So it's important that we put them in the bin. It's important to look after the future.
Absolutely, and as someone who obviously seems to care for animals, the woodpecker here is quite prolific in the area. It's painted with a face mask across its beak, so that obviously it's trapped by a face mask, which is not what we want. It's indigenous to the region, but they are an endangered species, so that's why we chose a woodpecker to feature heavily on the field behind me. So can you just tell me a couple of tips maybe for people, if they're out and about in the area, what can people do that's easy to recycle and stop littering?
Well, it's funny, I speak to the local farmer here, and he said his dad's been buried away over in the corner of his field, and he's got a bench, and next to the bench there's 4 bottles of beer. Now, if those 4 bottles of beer were full, I'm sure they would take them home with them. So why not just put them back in your bag and take them away? I just find it really rude. You wouldn't do that at home. You wouldn't throw your rubbish in the corner of your living room. You put it in the bin. So do the same when you're in the countryside. Or put it in your pocket, or carry it, and wait till you find the bin, or put it in your car, and when you get home, put it in the bin. It's quite simple. At the moment, it costs billions of pounds to keep the country tidy. So let's do it ourselves. It doesn't fall from the skies, it falls from our pockets or our hands.
And at the start of lockdown, we saw a real change in people looking after the environment a little bit more, taking it to home. That seems to have changed a lot with the likes of face masks and that sort of thing. How do you think people can sort of make a real effort to stop littering with face masks in particular when it comes to people?
There's a huge education piece, because I think people just don't think about it now. I think this is one of the reasons that the campaign is to realise that when you're dropping something on the floor, it's not meant to be there. And there's more face masks around because of COVID. And as I said, the government, before, they've done a great job of getting everybody to wear them. Now let's put them in the bin and look after them and put them in a pocket. So it's sad. I was walking the other day in Chilterns, and the exact same. I found about 5 face masks. There's more people walking, so let's just try and put this rubbish in the bin and make an effort and call people out on it.
Speaking of which, local councils we've discovered recently, Buckinghamshire Council is one of a few that in the past 5 years hasn't actually issued any penalty notices for littering. Do you find that councils have more of an input, or they can do more to make a difference in the local area?
I think the more we talk about it, the more people hear, and it's like anything in life, when something's brought to light, you tend to then think about it. If we can do that, we'll then make an impact on the environment. And I'm disappointed in the councils, because they know there's a lot of litter around. We're constantly trying to pick it up. The bins are full. So let's either do some community service. You get caught throwing litter down or litter in the countryside. If you can't pay the £1,000, well, it's £100 at the moment, it should be £1,000. Do a week's community service. You'll soon realise that you won't do it again, and people will then won't want to litter the countryside.
And just to remind people as well, that Don't Trash Our Future is hoping to get the fixed penalty charge raised to £1,000 or 100 hours community service, and that's at don'ttrashourfuture.co.uk.
Please sign a petition if you can.
Yes,
appreciate your support.
Yes, we're trying to get up to 100,000 signatures before we can lobby it to the Parliament. So we're about 50,000 so far, so we've still got quite a way to go. So it's don'ttrashourfuture.co.uk for more information and the petition. Kenny, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure. So I'm now going to speak to John Reid, and he's CEO and founder of Clean Up Britain. So John, as I've spoken to Kenny before, councils have a great influence when it comes to cleaning up parks and local areas. What is your take on the fact that, recently we found that they have not been issuing these fines or following through with actually charging people?
Well, my take on it is that they're not doing their job. They've got a very clear legal responsibility to do that, to ensure that their land is kept clear of litter. And one of the biggest ways of doing that is to actually enforce a punitive fine against people. So people realise there's a genuine chance of being caught and seriously fined. Now, the problem in this country is we have paltry fines at the moment. As Kenny was saying, they're only £100, £150. We want to see that increased to £1,000. So please go to don'ttrashourfuture.co.uk, sign that petition. But we also want the government to actually make it mandatory for every council in Britain to have to enforce the law. At the moment it's not, it's optional only, and that's one of the problems, because our research has showed that over 70% of councils in this country are not enforcing the law. So essentially we're living in a sort of lawless littered land where anybody can go out and do anything. I can go up my high street because my council doesn't enforce. Nobody will say anything to me. It's a ridiculous state of affairs. As Kenny was saying, we're wasting money. Spending over £1 billion a year on cleaning up litter. So we need to see the law improved, we need to see fines increased and councils made to enforce the law. And that's why we're asking people to go to don'ttrashourfuture.co.uk, sign that petition, and we'll be lobbying government. There's signs that they're starting to change their view on this a little bit, but we need people behind us.
Absolutely. And as a member of Clean Up Britain, partnering with us here in your area,
Yeah.
can you tell our viewers a little bit more about what Clean Up Britain are doing to help campaign to stop litter in the area?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're all about behavioural change. We're not about actually doing litter picks. There are other organisations who do that, but we're trying to get people to permanently change their attitudes and behaviour towards the environment. We've seen actually during COVID, there's been a huge increase in masks. We reckon it's around 3 million a week are being littered in Britain. 3 million. You can see them absolutely everywhere. And these are the same people who are actually littering other things, like whether it's fast food, aluminium drinks cans, whatever it may be. And there are around 30% of people in Britain who need to change their attitudes and behaviour and start looking after the environment. So we're all about trying to ensure that behaviour does change over a period of time and we start living in a cleaner country. Fortunately, we're now living in the most filthy country in Western Europe, and that's something we have to realise, and there's a whole number of things that do need to change. Far too many for me to go on here, or else everybody would be asleep and dead bored.
Speaking of which, if you've just joined us at the live this morning, we're here in Cholsey Grange in Buckinghamshire talking about the anti-litter campaign Don't Trash Our Future, run by InYourArea. We're campaigning to increase the litter fixed penalty notice fine up to £1,000 and or to have 100 community hours service for people who have been found littering. We also want to have local councils enforce these rules more often, because at the moment we've discovered that a lot of councils haven't had fines pushed through for the past 5 years, Buckinghamshire Council being one of them. We're actually here in front of a giant painted woodpecker on the field, which you might be able to see if the tech power gods come through with a nice drone footage for everyone. It's covered at the moment with a face mask across its beak to represent the fact that we've seen an increase in face masks littered across the UK since the launch of the pandemic. At the start, we did definitely see a decrease in litter and an increase in environmental improvement. However, since then, overflowing bins and face masks have become a serious problem once again. The woodpecker is approximately 72 metres by 68, and we'll talk a little bit further about that in more detail in just a moment. So, John, thank you very much.
Yeah.
It's been lovely to speak to you.
Yeah.
And I'd just like to ask Manu to come over for a few minutes as well. So Manu was part of the team who actually painted the woodpecker on the field. So you might be wondering, I was one of them who was quite concerned that painting a woodpecker isn't exactly environmentally friendly when you think about it, but to put you at ease, we do actually have an answer that will help with that. So Manu, can you just explain to our viewers how the woodpecker is green and what it represents?
Yeah, so obviously on this campaign it's very important for us to use a media that didn't damage the environment. So for this work we've used ecological, biodegradable paint that's temporary and will wash away with the rains.
Yeah, so that will grow out with the grass, so it's completely green. So it's similar to when you have football pitches.
It's the same paint, yeah.
The same paint.
Yeah.
And how many people came together to put this together for us
So
today?
we had a team of 4 people working on this, some very long days trying to get this done in time. We're really pleased with how it's come out. The colours look really vivid.
I don't know if viewers were able to see a minute ago, but hopefully we had drone footage showing you the full extent of the woodpecker. And I did mention it's about 72 by 68 metres, which is about the size of a small football field. And you might have noticed it's covered in a face mask because we're trying to make awareness for anti-litter with our anti-litter campaign, Don't Trash Our Future, which you can find at don'ttrashourfuture.co.uk. So, Manu, very briefly, if I could just ask, it took you about 3 days to put this all together?
That's right.
Is that correct? And how long roughly will it last on the field?
I think it depends on the amount of rain we get, but potentially about 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
That's really good. And will it stay as bright as this?
No, when the rain falls, it will eventually start fading and fading.
Fading away.
Yeah.
And do you have any information on why we chose the woodpecker specifically? Are you able to talk to us about that?
They are known to be in the Chiltern area, and obviously it's on the endangered list. And it's a beautiful bird to paint, so I think it really helps the campaign.
Yeah, we chose woodpeckers as they're quite prolific in the region and like a Chiltern bird. They actually use their beak as to make the holes in the trees, and it's a single-use cavity, which then actually becomes ecological for other animals in the area to use that space themselves. So it's all a cycle for the environment. So that was why we thought using a woodpecker would be a really good symbol for our campaign. Once again, if you just joined us, I'm just going to wrap things up for you a little bit now. But we're here for our anti-litter campaign, Don't Trash Our Future. And you can find out more information at don'ttrashourfuture.co.uk. We want to campaign to increase the fixed penalty notice to £1,000 or 100 hours community service. We also want local councils to enforce these rules and to really just sort fixing people with a fine where necessary. If I could just speak one more time to John, if you're free for a quick question. Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just speaking to the woodpecker.
No problem. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, whatever. Just see what the woodpecker had to say. He was very unhappy with it.
No, right. Just going to get you one more time, because I've explained it a few times now for our listeners what the campaign's about. They don't always want to hear it from me. Do you want to go through it for us one more time and let us know?
Yeah, sure. So the Clean Up Britain campaign is just about trying to ensure we all live in a cleaner country. Unfortunately, Britain's the most polluted and littered country in the Western world at the moment. And essentially, the problems we're seeing with our local woodpecker here with PPE masks and everything are amplified all over the country. So if you drive up and down the roads, we're very close here to the M40, you see rubbish everywhere. That's because people are chucking it out as they're driving. We need to change people's attitudes and behaviour and get them to start looking after their environment, because it's the only place we have to live, of course. So let's start doing that, and that starts rippling through to other effects and social advances in society as well. One is that we're spending and wasting a lot of money on cleaning up litter at the moment. We don't need to be doing that. It's a complete own goal. We shouldn't be doing that, especially in a country that's semi-bankrupt like we are. So we should not be doing that. People need to understand the truth. You don't always hear that from politicians, because they've got the guts to say what needs to be said. We've got the guts to say what needs to be said, and that's what we need to look after our country. Please go to don'ttrashourfuture.co.uk. It's for you, it's for your family, for your future generation. Sign that petition, urge the government to start getting a backbone and actually starting to impose serious fines on people who are guilty of environmental crime. Don'ttrashourfuture.co.uk. Okay, sign it, go there now, feel good about yourself. Thank you.
Fantastic, thank you. And thank you everyone for watching. So Kenny, can we just get one final word from yourself, if you don't mind? That would be great. So we spoke very briefly about councils, and can you just remind people what it is that councils can do to try and enforce the rules a little bit more?
Well, they need to enforce the rules. At the moment, you get charged £100 if you drop litter. And we want to move that to £1,000 community service. So then people will definitely look up and think about, well, do I really want to drop my mask or my litter where I could get fined? And actually, let's look after our country. You wouldn't do that in your own house. Don't do it when you go for a walk. We live in the most amazing country in the world, and we must look after it. So please try and support what we're doing. Today, you can see the face masks over the woodpecker and animals that are also affected by this.
Absolutely, because we are actually here on a farm in Cholsey Grange in Buckinghamshire, and we've seen already this morning the red kite owls that we've seen flying around, and horses on the way in. So it's great to buy organic and local food, but you really need to remember that it comes from places such as this, and littering has a direct impact on those animals. And being here this morning, it really drills home the fact that littering has an impact, and not littering gives us green spaces such as this that are great for everyone to be a part of. So once again, thank you for watching. It's don'ttrashourfuture.co.uk, and if you like, you can also pop on to InYourArea, you our interactive widget to find out which councils near you have actually been enforcing fixed penalty notices. Okay, so it's don'ttrashoufuture.co.uk to increase the fixed penalty charge to £1,000 or 100 hours community service. Thank you very much.